The sky above Earth was clear but not peaceful. Ships hovered high in orbit not as protectors but as judges. They were not human. Tall, dark vessels shaped like broken arrows floated silently, watching. Below on the surface, millions gathered. In cities, towns, and open fields, looking up at them with fear and disbelief. For centuries, humans had been part of something bigger, a galactic alliance called the Concord. It was made up of many alien species, all working together under shared laws. Humans had joined late after proving themselves smart, strong, and willing to learn. They had built space stations, trade routes, even colonies on other planets. They had grown proud. But now, that pride was gone. A message came from the Concord. It was short and cold. Humanity has violated the peace. You are no longer welcome among the stars. No one believed it at first. Leaders scrambled to respond. Diplomats begged for talks. Scientists tried to prove the accusations were lies. But there was no trial, no debate. The decision was final. The reason given was an explosion, a massive one, that destroyed an alien colony on a distant moon. The Concord said it was sabotage. They said humans did it. The evidence was fake, but it didn't matter. The verdict was already written. Some military leaders wanted to fight. Captain Daniel Holt stood in front of his crew and said, "We can win if we stand our ground." But others disagreed. President Karen Mitchell, the leader of Earth, looked at the alien fleet and knew the truth. Fighting meant death. So she made the hardest choice. "We leave," she said. Evacuation began. Huge arc ships, built long ago for exploration, were prepared. People were chosen based on skills, health, and usefulness. Families were split. Some stayed behind, refusing to believe it would really happen. Others fled into hiding, hoping the aliens wouldn't find them. Those who left packed only what they could carry. They boarded the arcs with tears in their eyes, waving goodbye to home. As the ships lifted off, the sky filled with light. Millions watched from below as the last humans left their planet. The aliens did not speak again. They simply watched. Once in space, the arcs formed a convoy. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller. Soon, it was just a blue dot in the darkness. Then, nothing at all. Inside the ships, silence ruled. No music, no laughter, only the hum of machines and the quiet cries of those who had lost everything. Life on the arcs was hard. Food was rationed, water was recycled. Children were taught in small rooms by tired teachers. Adults worked long hours to keep the ships running. Time passed slowly. Years turned into decades. A new generation was born. They never saw the sun rise over mountains or felt rain on their skin. They knew Earth only from stories and old videos. They asked questions like, "Why did they exile us? And will we ever go back?" No one had good answers. Among them was Lena Carter, a girl with wild hair and curious eyes. She was always fixing things, broken lights, damaged tools, anything with wires. Her parents were engineers and she learned from them. She dreamed of building something better, though she didn't know what. Another child, Evan Ruiz, trained every day. He ran, jumped, lifted weights. His father had been a soldier before the exile, and Evan wanted to be like him. He didn't understand politics or war, but he knew one thing. If someone ever tried to hurt his people again, he'd be ready. On the command deck of the main arc, President Mitchell watched the stars pass by. She was older now, thinner with lines on her face that hadn't been there before. She still held on to hope, though it was fading. One day a signal came in, weak, faint, repeating. It wasn't from Earth. It wasn't from the Concord either. It was something else, something unknown. Lena was the one who noticed it first. She showed it to the science team. They checked and rechecked. It was real. Someone out there was calling. The news spread quickly. Whispers of hope returned. Maybe they weren't alone. Maybe there was a future beyond exile. President Mitchell stood in front of the people and spoke. "We were cast out," she said. "But we are still here, and as long as we have each other, we will find our way." And so, the journey continued. Not toward home, but toward something new. Life on the arcs was not easy. But it kept going. Years passed like waves on a quiet sea, slow, steady, and never-ending. The children born in space had never felt grass under their feet or seen stars with their own eyes. They only knew the cold lights and steel walls of the ships that carried them through the dark. People worked hard to keep everything running. Engineers fixed broken machines. Doctors helped the sick. Teachers taught lessons in small rooms. Farmers grew food in tight spaces. Every job mattered. No one could afford to rest for too long. Among them was Lena Carter. She was older now, no longer the curious girl who fixed broken lights. She had become a skilled engineer, working deep inside the ships where wires ran like veins and metal groaned under pressure. She learned fast and asked questions most people didn't think to ask. Why couldn't they build better power systems? Why did they have to rely on old alien tech? What if they made something new? She wasn't the only one thinking differently. Evan Ruiz had grown into a strong young man. He trained harder than anyone else, always pushing himself. His father had been a soldier before the exile, and Evan wanted to protect his people. He joined the security teams, learning how to fight, how to lead, and how to stay calm when things went wrong. But not everyone believed in fighting. President Karen Mitchell still led the convoy, though her hair had turned white and her voice had grown tired. She tried to keep peace among the people. Some wanted to turn back, to try to beg the Concord for forgiveness. Others wanted to keep moving, to find a place of their own. Hope was slipping away. Then came the signal. It had first been picked up months ago. A faint, repeating message from deep space. At first, no one knew what it was. Some thought it was just noise. Others feared it was another enemy. But Lena and the science team kept studying it. Slowly, they began to understand. It was not random. It was not natural. Someone out there was trying to talk to them. The news spread quickly. Whispers filled the halls. Hope returned, small but bright. President Mitchell called a meeting. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and leaders gathered in the command room. They studied maps of space looking for the source of the signal. "We should go," said Lena. "We need answers." "We don't even know what's out there," said an officer, named Commander Holt. "Could be a trap." "Could be our only chance," Lena replied. After long talks and many arguments, the decision was made. The convoy would change course. They would follow the signal. The journey took time. Weeks turned into months. The ships moved through empty space farther than they had ever gone before. Stars passed by like distant fires. Silence surrounded them. Then one day they arrived. A strange world floated ahead. A dying star, its light weak and red. Around it were ruins. Huge, broken structures drifted in orbit. They looked like cities but built in space. They were ancient, covered in dust and time. No one spoke as they approached. "This place, it's not empty," said Lena, staring at the screens. "Something was here once." They sent a team to explore one of the structures. Lena was on it, along with Evan and a few others. They wore suits and carried tools and weapons. They stepped inside, walking through halls that hadn't heard footsteps in thousands of years. Inside, they found data cores still working. Machines hummed softly, waiting to be used. They uploaded files, translated symbols, and slowly pieced together the truth. This place belonged to a species long gone. They had been powerful once like humans. But they had been betrayed just like humans. They had fought, lost, and vanished. Their final message was clear. Do not trust the conquered. Lena, read it again and again. She felt something deep in her chest. Anger, yes, but also purpose. When they returned to the main ship, they shared what they had learned. The people listened. Some cried. Others stood taller. For the first time since the exile, something changed. Humans were not alone in being cast out, and maybe, just maybe, they could rise again. The discovery changed everything. Inside the ruins orbiting the dead star, The team had found more than just old machines. They had found knowledge. Blueprints, energy designs, weapon systems, and warnings. The lost species had once stood where humans now stood, cast out, betrayed, and alone. Back on the main arc, Lena Carter sat in the engineering bay, surrounded by glowing screens filled with alien symbols. She worked long hours translating what she could with the help of Dr. Aaron Park, a quiet man who had once taught physics before the exile. "This power source," Lena said one day, pointing at a diagram. "It's better than anything we have." "Doctor," Park nodded. "If we can build it, we won't need to ration energy anymore." Evan Ruiz walked in, his boots heavy on the floor. He had been training all morning and still wore his sweat-soaked shirt. "What are you two looking at now?" he asked. Lena grinned. "A way to change our future." Word spread quickly. President Karen Mitchell called for a meeting. Scientists, engineers, and military leaders gathered in the command room. Maps of space were pulled up. Plans were drawn. The message was clear. They had found something valuable. "We should use this," said Commander Holt, arms crossed. "But carefully." "Carefully won't keep us alive," Evan shot back. "We need to get stronger fast." Mitchell listened. Her face was tired but sharp. She had seen too much loss, too much fear. Now, for the first time, she saw hope. "We start building," she said. The work began. Old storage bays were turned into labs. Machines were repurposed. People worked together like never before. Children watched their parents create things no human had made before. Power cells, shields, engines, all based on the alien tech they had found. Lena led the effort. She didn't sleep much. She fixed, tested, and rebuilt until her hands were sore and her eyes burned. But she kept going. Evan trained new recruits every day. He taught them how to fight, how to think, how to survive. He believed that if the conquered came looking for them again, they needed to be ready. Months passed, then years. One day, the first new ship was launched. It wasn't an Ark. It wasn't built for escape. It was built for war. They called it CSS Bastion, a true human-made dreadnought. Heavy armor, advanced weapons. Powered by the new core Lena and Dr. Park had helped design. People gathered to watch it rise. Some cried. Others cheered. For the first time since the exile, humanity was not just surviving, it was rising. More ships followed. Mining stations were built near asteroid belts. Habitats were created in deep space. Humanity was no longer just a group of exiles floating through darkness. They were becoming a force. But not everyone agreed with the path forward. Some wanted peace. They feared that building weapons would only bring enemies closer. "We don't want war," said a leader named Isaac Grant. "We want to find a home." "And if war finds us first?" Evan asked. "What then?" Debates grew louder. Fights broke out in meetings. Even among the people, there were those who feared what was happening. President Mitchell tried to keep order. She spoke often, reminding everyone why they had left Earth. "They didn't give us a choice," she said. "We were thrown out because they thought we'd never come back. We must prove them wrong." And so, the work continued. Then came the first real test. A small mining outpost far from the main fleet sent out a distress call. Unknown ships had arrived. They moved fast. They fired without warning. Pirates. They attacked with brutal speed, trying to steal supplies and destroy what they couldn't take. Evan and his team responded. He flew with a small group of pilots in newly built fighters. Lena coordinated from a control station, guiding drones and sending tactical data. The battle was short but fierce. Evan led the charge, flying close to enemy ships, hitting hard and fast. Lena's drone swarm confused the pirates, jamming their signals and targeting weak spots. In the end, the pirates ran. Humanity had won, but not without cost. Several lives were lost. One of the miners was Nathan Boyd, a close friend of Lena's. She sat alone after the battle, staring at the stars. "He always said we'd make it," she whispered. Evan found her later. "We did," he said quietly. "And we'll keep doing it." She looked at him, eyes red but strong. I know, she said. That's why we can't stop. Word of the victory spread. Fear turned into pride. More people volunteered to join the defense teams. Factories worked faster. Plans for new colonies began. Humanity was no longer just drifting. They were building. They were fighting. They were coming back, and somewhere deep in space, someone was watching, someone who would soon come looking. The victory at the mining outpost sent a message across space. Humans were no longer easy prey. Word spread fast among the outer systems. Some pirates avoided human-controlled zones. Others began talking about revenge. But not all who heard were enemies. One day a new signal came in. It wasn't like the first one. This was clear, direct, and polite. I am Ambassador Virex, the voice said over the comms. We are the Virex. We wish to speak with your leaders. President Karen Mitchell stood on the command deck of the main arc, listening. She looked at Captain Daniel Holt and Lena Carter beside her. They're real, Lena said. And they're reaching out, Mitchell nodded. Then we go to them. A small team was chosen. Lena joined as a tech expert. Evan Ruiz went along for security. President Mitchell led the group herself. They traveled aboard a diplomatic shuttle toward the edge of human space where the Virex waited. The Virex homeworld was a rocky planet covered in red dust and tall crystal spires. Their cities shimmered under twin suns. The aliens themselves were tall and thin, with pale skin and deep-set eyes. They moved with calm grace and spoke in slow, careful tones. At the meeting hall, the Virex Council welcomed the humans. They asked many questions about their journey, their technology, their reasons for being in this part of space. Mitchell answered honestly. She told them how humanity had been exiled, how they had survived, how they had rebuilt. When she finished, there was silence. Then the head ambassador, a tall figure named Kalen, spoke. We have heard stories of your kind, he said. Some say you are dangerous. Others say you are strong. Mitchell met his gaze. We are both. After long talks, an agreement was made. The Virex would trade knowledge and resources with the humans in exchange for protection and access to human-built tech. It was the first real alliance since the exile. Back on the arcs, people celebrated. Children ran through halls shouting that humans were no longer alone. Scientists worked hard to improve tech based on what they learned from the Virex. Engineers built better ships. But not everyone was happy. Commander Holt remained cautious. He watched the Virex closely during meetings. He didn't trust their smooth words or quiet smiles. They know more than they're telling, he warned one night. Evan agreed. They knew who we were before we even landed. Lena checked the data again. Something caught her eye. Hidden codes embedded in the treaty documents. Small, almost invisible, but definitely there. They're reporting back, she whispered. Mitchell called another meeting. She confronted the Virex ambassador. You've shared our location with the Conquered. Kalen did not deny it. He only bowed his head slightly. We are bound by old agreements, he said. We did not wish to break them. Mitchell stood tall. Then we will help you forget. She gave the Virex a choice. Stay neutral and risk being used, or stand with humanity and fight back. After a long pause, Kalen nodded. We will no longer serve the Conquered, he said. We will stand with you. The deal changed everything. Now humans had a real ally in the stars, but it also meant war was coming, because the Concord now knew exactly where they were. Soon after the Virex left, a scout ship appeared near human space. It didn't attack, it didn't send messages, it just watched. Then it vanished. Evan stared at the screen showing its path. They're watching us, he said. They always were, Lena replied. Mitchell looked out at the stars. They wanted us to stay broken, she said. But we didn't. She turned to her people. This is only the beginning, she said. We must be ready. And so, the Dominion prepared. Ships were upgraded. Defenses were strengthened. Training became harder. Humanity, was no longer just surviving. They were waiting for the next move, and ready to strike back. The attack came without warning. A mining station near the edge of human space sent out a distress call. Explosions lit up the dark. Communications cut out after only a few seconds. Evan Ruiz was the first to respond. He had been training new recruits. When the alarm sounded, in minutes he was in his fighter, engines roaring. "Get me visuals," he said over the comms. Lena Carter was at the command center aboard CSS Bastion. She pulled up what little data they had. "It's a raid," she said. "Multiple hostiles, fast ships." "Pirates?" Evan asked. "No," Lena replied. "This is worse. These tactics, this isn't random. They're targeting key systems." She zoomed in on the video feed from the station. Ships moved like shadows, striking fast and vanishing before counterattacks could form. Then she saw it. One of the enemy ships carried a symbol she recognized. The mark of the conquered. "They're not just pirates," she whispered. "The Concord is behind this." Back on the main arc, President Karen Mitchell listened to the report with a hard face. "This is not a test," she said. "It's the start of something bigger." She gave the order. "All defense forces, move. And protect that station. Do not let them take anything." Evan led the charge. He flew alongside a small fleet of newly built fighters. Lena coordinated from the command ship, sending real-time updates and deploying drone swarms to confuse the attackers. As they neared the station, the battle was already in full swing. The pirates, or whatever they were, had broken through outer defenses and were moving toward the core. Evan dove in low, firing short bursts to keep enemies off balance. "Stay tight," he told his team. "We protect that station no matter what." Lena watched from the command deck. She tapped into the station's damaged systems, trying to restore power to shields and weapons. "I've got partial control," she said. "I can reroute power to the defense turrets." "Do it," Evan said. The turrets fired again, lighting up the darkness. Explosions filled the void as enemy ships took hits. Some fled, others kept coming. Then came the worst moment. A pirate fighter broke through the line and locked onto one of the supply ships. It fired. The explosion was massive. Lena saw it happen in real time. "No!" she shouted. On board the supply ship was Nathan Boyd, her friend, her teammate, one of the first to believe in rebuilding. He was gone. Evan saw the loss hit her through the comms. He clenched his jaw. "We finish this," he growled. He dove straight at the remaining enemy ships, flying close enough to see the pilots inside. He fired everything he had. The drones Lena had launched swarmed around the enemy, jamming signals and targeting weak spots. One by one, the attackers fell. When the last ship tried to retreat, Evan didn't let it go. He chased it down and fired one final shot. Silence followed. The battle was over. The station still stood, barely. Fires burned along its hull. Systems flickered. But it was alive. Evan returned to base, his hands shaking. Lena met him outside the hangar. "You did it," she said quietly. "We did," he corrected. They looked at each other. No words needed to explain the pain. They both felt it. Later, President Mitchell addressed the people. "We were cast out," she said. "But we are not weak. We fought today. We won. And we will fight again if we must." Across the arcs and stations, people listened. Some cried, others stood taller. For the first time since exile, humanity wasn't just surviving, they were defending their own, and they weren't backing down. Word of the battle spread quickly. Pirate groups began avoiding human space. Some tried to negotiate trade instead of attacking. Even the Virex sent a message. "We now see you are not just survivors," Kalen said. "You are warriors." But not all messages were friendly. Soon, after a new signal came in, not from the Virex, not from pirates, from the conquered, it was short. "Humanity, you have chosen war." There was no fear in Mitchell's eyes when she read it, only resolve. "We already chose war," she said. "The day they exiled us. And so, the next phase began, not just survival, not just rebuilding. Now it was time for revenge. After the battle, everything changed. The people no longer saw themselves as just survivors. They were fighters now, builders. A new kind of human was rising, not the ones who begged for a place among the stars, but the ones who carved their own path. President Karen Mitchell stood on the command deck of CSS Bastion, looking at the stars through the wide window. She had seen so much: exile, loss, hope, and now war. But she also saw something else: strength. "We are not going back," she said quietly. "We are going forward." Lena Carter worked non-stop in the engineering bay. She had lost her friend Nathan Boyd in the last battle, and it hurt more than she could say. But pain wasn't going to stop her. If anything, it made her work harder. She improved the energy cores they had built from alien tech. Now ships could run longer, stations could stay powered, and weapons could fire faster. Every system she touched became stronger. Evan Ruiz trained. Every day, he led new recruits through drills, taught them how to fly, how to fight, how to think. He believed that if the Concorde came again, they needed to be ready, and they would come. Not with open warships and loud attacks, not yet, but with spies, lies, hidden threats. One night, Lena found something strange in the data logs. A message had been sent from inside one of the arcs. It wasn't from any known channel. She ran a trace. It went to a conquered listening post far beyond human space. "Someone's working against us," she whispered. She called Evan and President Mitchell. They met in the command room. The screen showed the hidden message route. "This isn't just a mistake," Lena said. "This is sabotage." Mitchell looked tired, but her voice was sharp. "We need to find the source," she said. "Now." Evan took charge of the search. He and his team moved through the arcs and stations, watching, listening. They checked records, followed leads, asked questions. Then they found it. A small group of people had been feeding information to the conquered. Some did it out of fear. Others thought peace could still be bought. Mitchell didn't put them on trial. She gave them a choice: leave and never return, or stay and help make things right. Most chose to leave, a few stayed. One of them was a woman named Rebecca Lang. She had once worked in cyber defense before the exile. She knew how to hide messages, how to break codes. "I can help," she said. "If you trust me." Mitchell studied her for a long time. Then she nodded. "Prove it." Rebecca got to work. She helped Lena build better firewalls. They created traps for enemy signals, caught more spies, and shut down fake reports meant to scare the population. Humanity wasn't just fighting with guns anymore. They were fighting with minds, with knowledge. Soon, factories ran all day and night. New ships were built. Stations grew bigger. People stopped calling themselves exiles and started calling themselves the Dominion. That was what they were becoming: a true nation among the stars. Children grew up knowing only this: life, not Earth, not the old world, but space. Ships, technology, fighting. They learned history, yes, how they had been cast out, how they had suffered, but they also learned something else: how they had risen. Lena stood on a new station one day, looking out at the ships flying above it. Big, powerful, built by human hands. "They're beautiful," she said. Evan walked beside her. "They're ours," he said. "No one gave them to us. We built them." Far away, the Concorde watched. They had expected humans to fade, to die out, to forget. Instead, they had become something new, something strong. Mitchell sent a message across all channels. "We are not asking for permission. We are not begging for a seat at the table. We are here, and we will not be ignored." Across, the Dominion people heard those words, and they stood taller, because they knew the truth now. Humanity had not just survived exile. They had turned it into power, and they were just getting started. The war did not begin with a loud attack or a fleet dropping from the sky. It began with silence. Then came the disappearances. A transport ship vanished near the outer edge of Dominion space. No distress call, no wreckage, just gone. Then another. Lena. Carter sat at her station aboard CSS Bastion, eyes scanning lines of data. She saw patterns others missed. Ships went dark before they disappeared. Power flickered, systems failed. Always right before they vanished. It's not accidents, she said to Evan Ruiz, who stood behind her with arms crossed. He nodded. Someone's taking them. But who? They found the answer soon enough. Rebecca Lang, the former cyber defense expert turned Dominion tech officer, broke into a hidden signal. It was coming from deep within enemy space. She played it over the comms. Dominion vessels reported missing, believed carrying high-value cargo, awaiting further orders. The voice wasn't human. It was Concord. They're kidnapping our people, Lena whispered. Evan clenched his jaw. We get them back. President Karen Mitchell called for action. The Concord had been watching, waiting, testing. Now they were making their move. Not with open warships, but with sabotage. False reports spread through the Dominion. Some colonies believed the Virex had betrayed them. Others thought the government was hiding the truth. People started to panic. Mitchell sent out a message. We are being watched. We are being tested, but we will not fall apart. Evan led the fight on the ground. He trained small strike teams to hunt spies and shut down fake signals. His people moved fast and quiet, catching enemies before they could do more damage. Lena worked with Rebecca to build better defenses. They created AI-driven systems that could detect fake messages and block enemy access before it caused harm. But the real battle came when the Concorde struck directly. A colony on a mining world was attacked, not by pirates this time, not by raiders, by Concord forces. They dropped from orbit in silent ships. They hit hard and fast. Defense turrets were disabled before they fired a single shot. People ran as explosions lit up the night. Evan arrived, with a team of fighters. He landed outside the main base and led the charge. His soldiers moved like shadows, striking where the enemy least expected. Lena coordinated from orbit, sending drone support and targeting data. The battle was brutal. Dominion forces pushed back, but not without cost. One of the fallen was Jason Carter, Lena's brother. He died protecting a transport convoy trying to evacuate civilians. When Lena heard the news, she didn't cry. Not at first. She just stared at the stars. Then she got to work. We don't stop, she said. We keep going. Jason's death changed everything. For the first time since Exile, humans stopped seeing themselves as victims. They were warriors now, and they were angry. Recruitments jumped overnight. Factories ran faster. Schools taught combat alongside science. Children learned how to survive in war just as much as they learned how to build machines. President Mitchell spoke to the people. We were cast out not because we were weak, but because we were strong. And now they fear us again. She made a bold move. She declared the formation of the Human Dominion, an official interstellar state, independent and ready to stand on its own. The Virex joined the cause. So did other species who had suffered under the Concorde's rule. Word spread. The Dominion was no longer hiding. They were coming, and they were ready to fight. The next attack came from above. A Concorde fleet appeared near a key supply route. They didn't ask for surrender. They opened fire. Evan led the defense. Lena oversaw logistics. Rebecca hacked into enemy systems mid-battle, causing confusion among their ranks. The fight lasted hours. When it ended, the Concorde retreated, but not because they lost, because they knew something now. Humans were no longer easy prey. They were a force to be feared. Back on CSS Bastion, Evan looked at Lena. They'll come back, he said. She nodded. Let them. Outside, the stars burned bright, and somewhere in the dark the enemy was watching, waiting, planning. But so were the humans. This was only the beginning, and humanity was done running. The war had changed. At first, the Dominion had been on defense, protecting their people, guarding their space, trying not to lose more than they already had. But now, that was over. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. They were attacking. Evan Ruiz stood on the command deck of CSS Bastion, watching the battle map light up with new targets. Ships moved like pieces on a board. Enemy positions were marked in red. "We hit them hard," he said to Lena Carter beside him. "No more waiting." She nodded. "We've got the tech. We've got the ships. Now we use them." President Karen Mitchell had given the order weeks. "I was there to take the fight to the Concorde. Not with reckless charges or blind attacks, but with smart strikes, precision, and force." Lena led the planning teams. She studied old data, mapped enemy supply lines, found weak points. Every mission was built on knowledge, not luck. Evan led the soldiers. He trained new recruits every day. Pilots flew faster, fighters struck harder, ground troops moved with purpose. The first big strike came at a Concorde outpost near the edge of enemy space. It was a refueling station, hidden behind asteroid belts. The Concorde thought it was safe. They were wrong. A small fleet of Dominion ships dropped out of hyperspace under full stealth. No loud entry, no warning shots, just silence. Then fire. Lena's drone swarm went in first, disabling security systems and cutting comms. Then Evan's team landed fast, moving through the base like shadows. The battle was short. When it ended, the station was under Dominion control, and the message was clear. "We can reach you anywhere." Word spread fast. Other species saw what happened. Some began to whisper that the Concorde could be beaten. Others started to fight back too. Soon the Virex joined the offensive. They sent ships, supplies, and intel. Other oppressed groups followed. Former slaves, broken colonies, exiled worlds. The Dominion was no longer alone. Back on the main arc, President Mitchell addressed the people. "This is not just about survival anymore," she said. "This is about freedom, about proving that no one decides our fate but us." Across human space, people listened. Factories ran non-stop. Children learned battle drills in school. Pilots trained for long hours. Everyone played a part. Then came the biggest mission yet. A coordinated strike across multiple conquered systems. Dominion forces attacked key outposts all at once. Supply depots, communication hubs, weapon factories. The goal wasn't to destroy everything, but to cripple the enemy's ability to fight back. Lena oversaw the AI coordination from orbit. She used captured codes and hacked systems to confuse the enemy. Drones acted as decoys. False signals led ships into traps. Evan led the ground assault on a major military base. His team fought through heavy fire, taking losses but pushing forward. When the dust settled, the base was theirs. The victory sent shockwaves. For the first time since the exile, humanity was not just fighting back. They were winning, and they weren't stopping. Back aboard CSS Bastion, Evan sat next to Lena in the command room. Both were tired, covered in dust and sweat. "They know now," he said quietly. She looked at the screen showing enemy retreats across the sector. "Yeah," she replied. "They know." Mitchell called another meeting. Leaders from across the Dominion gathered. Plans were made for the next phase. "We keep going," she said, "until they understand. We are not asking for peace. We're taking our place among the stars. Outside, the sky filled with ships, big ones, fast ones, built by human hands. And beyond them, deep in enemy space, the final target waited, Earth, the home they had lost, the place where it all began. And soon, they would return. Not as exiles, but as victors. The stars burned bright as the fleet moved into position. Hundreds of ships floated in silence, waiting for the order. This was it. Earth, the planet they had lost, the home they had been taken from. Now, it stood behind enemy lines, guarded by the full power of the conquered, but not for much longer. President Karen Mitchell stood on the command deck of CSS Bastion. She looked at the screen showing the enemy fleet. Big ships, old enemies, waiting. She took a deep breath. "Humanity," she said over the comms. We were cast out not because we were weak but because we were strong. And now, we return not as victims, but as victors. Across the fleet, soldiers nodded. Pilots tightened their gloves. Engineers checked every system one last time. Lena Carter sat in her station, hands steady. She had spent years building this moment. Better weapons, smarter drones, faster ships, all made by human hands. Evan Ruiz stood near the launch bay watching his team suit up. "They're ready," he said to himself. Then the order came. "All ships, move in." The attack began with fire. Dominion ships dropped from hyperspace like falling stars. Fighters screamed through space, dodging enemy fire. Bombers targeted key points, shield generators, weapon turrets, command centers. Lena guided everything. From above, her AI systems tracked enemy movements, predicted attacks, and fed real-time data to pilots. Drones swarmed like bees, confusing sensors and drawing fire. Below, Evan led the ground assault. His team landed near the main base, fighting through heavy resistance. Explosions lit up the sky, smoke rose high, but they kept moving. Every soldier knew what this meant. They weren't just taking back a planet. They were taking back their future. Back on CSS Bastion, President Mitchell watched the battle unfold. "This is for everyone who never gave up," she said. "For those who died. For those who built. For those who believed we would make it back." The enemy fought hard. The Concorde sent wave after wave of ships. They tried to push the Dominion back to scare them off. But it didn't work. Because this time humans didn't run. They stood their ground. They fought harder. And they won. The turning point came when Lena hacked into the main shield control. In seconds, she disabled the planetary defense grid. "Shields are down," she called over comms. Evan didn't waste time. "Now!" he shouted. Dominion forces pushed forward. The enemy fell back. One by one, bases were taken. Ships were destroyed. Resistance broke. When the last enemy ship fled, the sky was quiet. Earth was free. Mitchell stepped onto the surface for the first time in decades. Wind touched her face. Ground felt solid beneath her feet. Behind her, people followed. Soldiers, engineers, children born in space. They looked around in awe. This was home. Not as it was, but as it could be. Mitchell spoke to the people. "We were exiled," she said. "We were told we didn't belong. But here we stand. Not because we begged. Not because we asked for mercy, but because we rose stronger than ever." Cheers filled the air. Factories began rebuilding. Cities started growing again. Children ran through fields that hadn't seen life in years. Humanity had come back, and they weren't leaving again. But even as they celebrated, something else happened, a signal, weak, far away but clear. It wasn't from the Concorde. It wasn't from any known species. Someone else was out there, watching, waiting. Lena looked at the screen, eyes wide. Evan walked beside her. "What is it?" he asked. She smiled. "A new mission," she said. Outside, the stars burned brighter than ever, and somewhere beyond them, a new chapter waited, one that only humans would write.